My beloved sisters, today I speak to every woman who feels alone, who feels isolated, left out, misunderstood, or forgotten. To every sister who watches others laugh together, build friendships, enjoy sisterhood. Yet when she looks around, there's no one standing with her. If this is you, know that you are not truly alone. My dear sister, Allah He has never left you. When you say, I have no friends, Allah is saying, I am here for you. I am your best companion. Remember what Allah says in the Quran. Indeed, Allah is with those who are patient. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:15. Your loneliness may be a test. It may be Allah's way of calling you back to Him. Sometimes the absence of people is actually the presence of peace. Sometimes Allah removes everyone from your life, so you turn directly to Him without distraction. The Prophet Muhammad said, whoever is deprived of gentleness is deprived of all good. Sahih Muslim. So you may feel left out, but you are not left behind. You may not have company, but Allah has placed in you gentleness, patience, and resilience. That is a special kind of strength. When a woman feels completely alone in this world and experiences the sting of having no friends to turn to, no shoulders to lean on, and no soul to speak to, it can be an emotionally draining experience. But it's in this very darkness that the light of faith can shine brightest. Islam teaches that the greatest companionship isn't found in people. It's found in our relationship with Allah. He is the one who is always there, in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every whisper of our soul. The concept that Allah is always with you is not metaphorical. It is real, present, and continuous. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah says, indeed Allah is with those who are patient. This isn't just a sentence, it's a divine promise. Imagine the creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who knows the names of every grain of sand and every drop of rain, saying to you, I am with you. That statement alone should warm the coldest heart and lift the lowest soul. Sometimes a woman may look around and wonder why everyone seems to have someone. Friends are talking, walking in groups, sharing smiles and secrets, and there she is alone. But let her heart whisper something different. Allah is enough for me. He is Al-Wakil, the one who takes care of our matters better than we could ever manage them. He is Al-Waitli, the one who protects and befriends in a world where friendships are often transactional, temporary, or conditional. Allah's companionship is eternal, sincere, and free of any demand other than sincere belief and remembrance. The woman who constantly turns to Allah in her moments of pain, even if she sheds tears on her prayer mat in the middle of the night when no one is watching, is building a bond that cannot be broken. That solitude is not a curse. It is sacred space between her and her Lord. Loneliness is not always an absence. Sometimes it is an invitation from Allah to discover Him more deeply. It's in the moments of isolation that a person's true spiritual state is revealed. Without distractions and noise, the heart hears the Quran more clearly, and the soul feels the sweetness of dua more intensely. The Prophet ﷺ used to retreat to the cave of Hira in solitude before revelation began. Why? To be alone with his thoughts, to reflect, to purify his soul. And Allah chose that moment of isolation to send down the first words of guidance to mankind. So too, the woman who finds herself alone must know she is in her own cave of Hira. This could be the beginning of her transformation. She can either allow the pain of loneliness to shatter her, or she can allow it to open her heart to Allah in ways she never thought possible. When we read the stories of the prophets and righteous women in the Quran, many of them faced periods of deep isolation. Maryam, peace be upon her, was in complete solitude when she gave birth to Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him. That moment wasn't a punishment. It was the point where Allah elevated her, honored her, and made her a role model for all women. Allah chose for her to be alone, but not abandoned. He sent her provisions from the unseen. He comforted her heart and gave her the strength to carry on. That same Allah is the one watching over every woman who feels alone today. He has not changed. His mercy has not decreased. His awareness of your pain is just as sharp and complete. He knows when you feel invisible. He knows when you cry silently. And He knows exactly when to replace your pain with peace. There is a sweetness in building a connection with Allah that no earthly relationship can provide. It is a friendship built on love, obedience, trust, and remembrance. When you talk to Allah, He listens not just with ears, but with His full knowledge and wisdom. He understands what you don't say. He catches the tears that never leave your eyes. He strengthens the heart when it trembles. While people may misunderstand you, judge you, or even forget you. Allah does not. He never overlooks your pain or dismisses your struggle. Even the tiniest act of turning to Him is acknowledged, multiplied, and treasured. This companionship with Allah creates an inner strength that empowers a woman to face the world with dignity and calmness. She doesn't beg for attention because she knows the one who truly matters is already looking at her with mercy. She doesn't chase after people to fill a void because her soul is already nourished by the remembrance of her Lord. As the Quran says, verily in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. That is not just a promise, it is a reality. Those who remember Allah in their solitude experience peace that others spend their lives chasing in crowds. A woman with no friends may seem alone to the world, but in the realm of the unseen, she may be walking with angels. The Prophet ﷺ said that when a person remembers Allah, Allah mentions them in a gathering better than theirs. Imagine being mentioned by name in a gathering of angels. What a powerful reward for choosing Allah as your friend. This world may not recognize your loneliness, but the heavens are watching, recording, and preparing your place in Jannah. So let the woman who feels alone know that her solitude is not the end. It may be the beginning of her spiritual rise. Let her remember that her worth is not measured by her social circle, but by the sincerity of her heart. Let her see that even when people walk away, Allah remains, and He is the best of friends, the best of companions, the best of listeners, and the only one who will never disappoint. With Allah by your side, you are never truly alone. When a woman finds herself walking a lonely path, void of companionship and surrounded by silence, it is easy to fall into the trap of believing that something is wrong with her. The world is loud, vibrant, full of connections, yet her phone stays silent, her heart remains heavy, and her evenings are marked not by joyful gatherings, but by quiet, private tears. It is at this moment that Islam calls her not to despair, but to reflect, because her loneliness might not be a punishment. It might not be a failure. It might actually be a test from Allah, crafted uniquely for her soul's elevation. In this life, every believer will be tested. This is a certainty that Allah has made clear in the Quran. He says, do the people think that they will be left to say, we believe and they will not be tested? One of the most subtle, difficult, and prolonged tests is that of emotional isolation. It is not as obvious as poverty, illness, or oppression, yet it eats away at a person's spirit with the same intensity. When a woman feels that she is surrounded by people, yet completely unseen, when she cries but no one notices, when she needs support but no one comes, these are not signs that Allah has abandoned her. On the contrary, they may be signs that Allah is drawing her closer to Him by cutting her off from the distractions of the world. Many people think a test only comes in the form of hardship that is visible, loss of wealth, health, or a loved one. But there is another kind of test, the test of emptiness, where Allah strips away the people she leans on, so that she leans entirely on Him. In this test, she is forced to see her own heart clearly. She begins to understand where her true dependence lies. Does she feel empty without others, or does she find fulfillment in the company of her Lord? This is the real test. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the most beloved to Allah, was no stranger to loneliness. He lost both of his parents at a young age. He was an orphan. He faced rejection, mockery, and isolation by his own people in Makkah. Even when he called them to truth, he was boycotted, insulted, and driven out. Yet despite all of this, he remained steadfast, and Allah loved him intensely. This should be a message of immense comfort to any woman who feels isolated. Loneliness is not a sign of spiritual failure. Sometimes it is the exact road Allah chooses for His most beloved servants. What does this test demand from the believer? It demands patience, sabr, and trust, tawakkul. And with those two qualities, a woman can rise from her sorrow into a state of strength and contentment. Allah says in Surah Al-Baqarah, indeed, Allah is with those who are patient. This verse is not merely a statement, it is a promise. The moment a woman chooses to respond to her isolation with sabr, she has earned a powerful ally, the presence of Allah Himself. And with His presence comes light, clarity, and reward that no worldly friendship could match. But patience doesn't mean passive suffering. It means enduring with hope. It means praying when the heart feels heavy. It means holding back the tongue from complaining to people and instead directing the pain to Allah in the quiet of the night. The Prophet Allah taught us that the most powerful du'as often come from the depths of loneliness. Remember the du'a of Yunus, 8 years from the belly of the whale. There is no God but you. Glory be to you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers. Surah Al-Anbiya 21:87. He was in complete isolation, in darkness upon darkness, yet that dua reached the heavens, and Allah responded. The woman who is tested with solitude should never think she is overlooked. Sometimes the very thing she sees as a curse is her greatest gift in disguise. While others may be distracted by shallow friendships, aimless chatter, and worldly attachments, her heart is being purified in silence. Her time alone is not wasted. It is time in which she can build her character, her resilience, and most importantly, her relationship with Allah. Let her know that every moment of her test is recorded by angels. The tears, the suppressed sighs, the nights she stayed up crying to Allah, none of it is lost. Allah is Ash-Shakur, the most appreciative. He values even the tiniest struggle made for His sake. When she restrains herself from complaining, when she smiles despite her sadness, when she prays despite her pain, these are mountains of reward being built for her in the hereafter. She must also remember that this test is temporary. Allah never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. Surah Al-Baqarah 228:6. He knows the capacity of her heart. He knows the breaking point. And just as He sent trials, He also sends relief. Perhaps her righteous companion is being prepared. Perhaps her future is being shaped through this moment of difficulty. And when the time is right, she will look back and thank Allah for this season of isolation, because it made her stronger than she ever thought she could be. In the meantime, her job is to pass this test with dignity, to keep praying, to keep hoping, to keep doing good. Even if no one sees her efforts, Allah sees them, and the one who sees everything will never let her efforts go unrewarded. So, to the woman with no friends, to the one who feels left out, know that this test may be the reason for your higher status in the hereafter. Embrace it with faith, walk through it with courage, and know that with every lonely step you take, Allah walks with you. In a world where appearances matter more than reality and popularity is often mistaken for value, it becomes difficult for a woman who has no friends to truly recognize her worth. Social media platforms portray curated versions of people's lives overflowing with friendships, laughter, and gatherings. It's easy to assume that being surrounded by people equals success and happiness, while being alone implies failure or deficiency. But Islam shatters these illusions. A woman's value is not measured by how many people surround her, but by how closely she walks with Allah. Her self-worth is rooted not in social approval, but in her taqwa, her consciousness of Allah. Allah makes this clear in the Qur'an. Indeed, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Surah Al-Jurat 49:13. This divine statement should transform the way a woman sees herself. If the world ignores her, but Allah honors her, she has won. If society doesn't notice her, but the heavens record her sincerity, she is already successful. Her identity isn't validated by being liked, invited, or followed. It is secured by her humility, her obedience, her intentions, and her connection with her Lord. The Prophet Muhammad came to a society that defined people's worth based on tribe, gender, wealth, and connections. Women, especially those who were alone or without protection, were often devalued. Yet Islam raised their status. The Prophet taught that a person's nobility isn't defined by their social standing, but by the quality of their soul. In fact, some of the most powerful women in Islamic history were not surrounded by large circles of friends. Take Maryam, peace be upon her. For example, she withdrew in seclusion, rejected by her people, yet Allah honored her above all women of the world. Why? Because of her purity, her faith, her strength, and her unwavering trust in Allah. A woman must recognize that being friendless doesn't make her worthless. In fact, it can often become the condition through which she discovers her true self. When there are no voices around to tell her who she should be, she finally begins to listen to the voice of her soul. She sees her flaws honestly. She confronts her insecurities. She learns to value her own presence without needing validation. This journey towards self-realization is not easy, but it is sacred. When people reject you, it hurts. But sometimes their rejection is Allah's redirection. He may be removing people from your life who were not good for your faith, even if you couldn't see it. Maybe they were influencing you in ways that would slowly poison your heart. Maybe their friendship came with jealousy, comparison, gossip, or sin. Allah, in His infinite mercy, shields you from that damage by isolating you. He doesn't do it to hurt you, but to protect and purify you. In this quiet space, a woman learns to define herself not by relationships but by character. Is she generous even when no one is watching? Is she sincere in her worship even when there's no one to impress? Is she grateful, patient, and honest even when she feels empty? These are the qualities that build a soul, and these are the qualities that Allah loves. A woman may feel invisible in a society that glorifies extroversion and applause, but Islam teaches us that Allah sees everything. He sees the silent prayers, the battles fought in the heart, the patience shown when hurt, the tears shed in sujood. All of these actions define her worth far more than having people call her their best friend. There's something powerful about a woman who learns to enjoy her own company. She becomes self-aware, emotionally strong, and spiritually centered. She doesn't settle for toxic friendships just to avoid being alone. She doesn't lower her standards just to fit in. She knows that solitude with Allah is more nourishing than noisy company that distracts from Him. She may walk alone in this world, but she walks tall with dignity, wisdom, and purpose. Furthermore, when a woman defines her worth through taqwa, she becomes free. She is no longer enslaved by people's opinions, likes, or approval. She no longer performs for attention. Her confidence comes from the fact that she is loved by the Most High, and that love is enough to fill her heart. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Whoever seeks the pleasure of Allah, even if it displeases the people, Allah will be pleased with him and will cause the people to be pleased with him." Ibn Hibban. This hadith is a reminder that pleasing Allah brings a peace and acceptance that worldly relationships cannot offer. If you chase the love of people, you may lose the love of Allah. But if you prioritize the love of Allah, the right people will love you eventually. And even if they don't, you're still victorious. Islam also teaches that value is not in being noticed, but in being pure. The Prophet in his once described the believers as being like hidden treasures, pure, uncorrupted, and sincere. A woman who is not popular in the eyes of people, but is beloved in the sight of Allah, has reached a level of spiritual maturity that many never attain. Even if no one praises her, the angels do. Even if no one thanks her, Allah does. So to the woman who has no friends, do not let the silence make you doubt your worth. Do not let the absence of company make you question your importance. You are seen by Allah. You are heard by the one who created you. And you are defined not by society standards, but by your closeness to your Creator. Your worth is not in how many people text you, invite you, or celebrate you. Your worth is in your relationship with Allah, in your taqwa, and in your sincere efforts to please Him, whether anyone else acknowledges it or not. And remember, on the day of judgment, it won't matter who walked beside you in dunya. It will only matter who you walked toward. And if you walked toward Allah, alone or not, you are the most honored in His sight. A woman who has no friends may often wonder if her loneliness will ever change, if companionship will ever come, or if she is destined to walk this life alone. Her heart may ache for someone who understands her, someone to confide in, someone to share life's joys and sorrows with. But Islam gives her something far deeper than friendship. It gives her hope in the perfect timing of Allah. It reminds her that her current state is not permanent, and that her du'as are seeds planted in the unseen, destined to bloom when the time is right. Allah is Al-Mujib, the one who responds to the calls of His servants. When a woman cries out to Him in her sujood, whispering her pain and longing into the darkness of the night, it does not go unheard. It does not disappear into the void. Every word, every tear, every sigh is carried to the heavens and treasured by the one who loves her most. The Qur'an repeatedly assures us, and your Lord says, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." Surah Ghafir. This divine promise is a lifeline for the lonely heart. It's a reminder that Allah does not reject the sincere prayers of His servants, even if the answer is delayed. The delay is not denial. It is divine wisdom. Allah may be preparing something greater than what she asked for, or He may be protecting her from harm she cannot see, or He may be using this waiting period to elevate her spiritually, strengthen her resilience, and teach her trust. Sometimes a woman prays for friendship, for a righteous companion, for someone who will listen without judgment, love without condition, and support without envy. And Allah in His mercy may hold back that friendship, not to punish her, but to teach her how to first become her own friend, and more importantly, a true friend of Allah. Before she can build connections with others, He wants her to first be connected to Him. This sacred waiting season can be the most transformative time of her life if she embraces it with the lens of faith. And Prophet Muhammad said, Know that if the whole world were to gather to benefit you with something, they would not benefit you except with what Allah has already written for you. Tirmidhi. This means that no one can enter her life unless Allah allows it. No soul can be her companion unless it is written in her qadr, divine decree. So she need not chase after people, nor beg for attention or affection. Instead, she should raise her hands, pour out her heart in dua, and trust that Allah will bring the right people at the right time, and in the meantime, He will sustain her with Himself. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is an act of faith. It is the belief that Allah never forgets, never fails, and never withholds without reason. When a woman hopes in Allah, her heart remains soft, even in sorrow. She does not give in to bitterness or jealousy. She does not compare her life to others and feel defeated. Instead, she finds peace in knowing that her story is unfolding exactly as it should. She remembers that the prophets, the most beloved of Allah, also experienced loneliness and isolation, yet they never lost hope. Take Prophet Yusuf Assis, for example. He was abandoned by his brothers, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, and later imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. For years he was alone, but he remained hopeful, patient, and obedient. And when the time came, Allah lifted him from prison and placed him in a position of honor and influence. That is the power of divine timing. What looks like a long delay is often the start of a greater destiny. A woman must also remember that Allah's plan includes seasons of pruning. Before He grants her meaningful relationships, He may first remove harmful ones. He may isolate her from people who would bring spiritual damage, so He can later connect her with those who bring light. This period of loneliness may feel like a loss, but it is actually preparation. Her heart is being cleansed of dependency on others, so it can be ready for what Allah wants to place in it. One of the most beautiful aspects of Islamic belief is that dua can change qadar. If a woman sincerely asks Allah to send her righteous companionship, to open doors of connection and love for His sake, and to make her heart content with what He chooses for her, then her dua becomes a powerful force of change. Allah in His generosity listens even when she repeats the same request 1,000 times. He is never bored of hearing her, never tired of responding, never late in His response. So even if she has no one now, even if every gathering makes her feel invisible, even if her life seems like a cycle of isolation, she must not give up. The one who wrote her story is still writing. Her best days may still be ahead. The friendship she longs for might be just around the corner. The relief she seeks might already be descending, quietly and gradually, but until it arrives, her hope in Allah must not fade. Let her carry this hope with dignity. Let her walk with confidence, knowing that she is being held by the most merciful. Let her smile through her solitude, knowing that every lonely moment is being rewarded. And let her continue to make dua, not just for friends, but for hearts that love Allah, for companionship that strengthens faith, for bonds that last into the next life. And one day, when her duas are answered, and when she meets those friends who feel like warmth and light, she will look back at this lonely season and realize it was never wasted. It was the bridge Allah used to bring her closer to Him and to prepare her for the friendships her soul was truly made for. When a woman experiences loneliness, especially in the absence of close friends or a support system, it's easy for her to fall into a dangerous emotional and spiritual trap, thinking that her value is tied to her social circle. But Islam teaches a liberating truth. A woman's dignity and strength come from her character and her relationship with Allah, not from how many people surround her. And when she embraces this truth, her solitude becomes a sanctuary, not a prison. Often society pushes women to believe that fulfillment comes from being liked, included, and admired. Popularity becomes a measure of success. Friendships become badges of self-worth. If a woman is alone, people assume something must be wrong with her. She's too quiet, too religious, too strong, too different. But the Qur'an and Sunnah remind us that many of the most beloved women to Allah were not surrounded by crowds. Their strength was not in numbers, but in their hearts. Take the example of Asiyah as the wife of Pharaoh. She lived in the palace of the most powerful tyrant on earth. Yet she stood alone in her faith. Her belief isolated her, but it also elevated her. Allah loved her so much that He immortalized her words in the Quran. Lord, build for me a house near you in paradise. Surah At-Tahrim 66:11. She didn't ask for status, companionship, or comfort. She asked for closeness to Allah. And this is the essence of a dignified woman. Her soul is anchored not to people, but to her Lord. Even when her physical space is filled with hardship, her heart remains filled with peace. When a woman is tested with loneliness, she can either crumble under it or rise with it. Islam gives her the tools to rise. Her dignity lies in her ability to carry herself with grace, even when no one is watching. She does not allow her self-worth to be defined by external validation. Instead, she focuses on internal purification. She begins to ask, who am I when I am alone? What does Allah see in me when I'm in sujood? Am I strong in the unseen moments, when no one is clapping or comforting? This self-awareness creates spiritual power, because once a woman detaches her self-esteem from people and attaches it to Allah, she becomes unshakable. Whether people admire her or ignore her, she remains grounded. Whether people include her or reject her, she remains firm. Her identity is not in being someone's best friend, it's in being a servant of the most merciful. The Prophet Muhammad showed us, verily, Allah does not look at your appearance or wealth, but He looks at your hearts and your deeds. Sahih Muslim. This hadith is profound. A woman might be unnoticed by people because of her modesty, her silence, or her commitment to faith. She may not be the life of the party, but if her heart is pure, if her deeds are sincere, she is honored in the sight of Allah. And there is no dignity greater than being honored by the Creator. Moreover, a woman with no friends often has something others don't. Time to reflect, to worship, to grow. While others may be busy in endless social commitments, she has moments of stillness where her heart can connect deeply with Allah. This time is not a punishment, it is a gift. In the solitude where others may feel emptiness, she can find clarity. In the silence where others hear nothing, she can hear her soul. And when she fills her time with Qur'an, with dhikr, with sincere dua, she begins to experience an internal richness that no friendship can replace. This doesn't mean that wanting friends is wrong. Companionship is part of our nature, and Islam encourages righteous friendship. The Prophet himself and royal companions, but when that companionship is absent, the test becomes, will she still hold her head high? Will she still walk with faith, or will she collapse under society's definitions of value? A woman of true dignity understands that her silence is not weakness, her privacy is not shame, her distance from crowds is not a deficiency. Sometimes it is a sign that Allah is shielding her from envy, from drama, from fitna. He is protecting her peace so she can focus on what truly matters. And what matters most is her soul's journey back to Him. One of the most empowering things a woman can do is redefine what strength looks like. In Islam, strength is not loudness, dominance, or social popularity. It is sabr, patience, istiqamah, steadfastness, tawakkul, reliance on Allah, and haya, modesty. These are the marks of a truly strong woman, even if she is not known by many. When a woman walks with this understanding, her demeanor changes. She no longer tries to force friendships that drain her. She no longer fears being misunderstood. She doesn't over-explain herself or water down her values to be accepted. She simply lives honestly, humbly, and sincerely. And that authenticity attracts what is meant for her while protecting her from what isn't. So to the woman who feels isolated, know that your solitude can become your superpower. You can grow in ways that others can't. You can build a bond with Allah that is unshakable. You can walk through this world with quiet confidence, knowing that your value is never diminished by people's absence, because your worth is written by the one who never leaves. So dignity is not about being seen, it's about being true. And if you are true to Allah, He will be true to you. He will honor you in ways no human friendship ever could. So walk with your head high, not because people approve of you, but because you are loved by the one whose approval is all that matters. When a woman feels isolated and friendless, it's natural for her to feel as if she has no role in society, no place to belong, no voice that matters. The silence of her loneliness can become deafening, and in absence of companionship can make her believe that she has nothing to offer. But Islam reminds her of a profound truth. Even when no one sees her, Allah does, and her presence carries purpose far beyond human recognition. Being alone doesn't mean being useless. A woman's value in Islam is never tied to her social interactions. It is tied to her impact, intention, and sincerity. And sometimes the most powerful impact comes from those who live quietly, work privately, and seek no applause. The Prophet ﷺ taught us that the most beloved deeds to Allah are the most consistent, even if small. Sahih al-Bukhari. This teaches us that greatness in the eyes of Allah is not about visibility, it's about sincerity. A woman who has no friends but continues to smile at strangers, make du'as for others in secret, help her family quietly, or worship alone at night, is building a legacy that echoes in the heavens. She may not have a large social circle, but she is deeply connected to the realm of angels, who witness her deeds and record them with love. In a world obsessed with influence, Islam elevates ikhlas, sincerity of heart. A woman who lives sincerely, even in solitude, is honored by Allah. He knows when she lowers her gaze in modesty. He knows when she holds back her tongue in patience. He knows when she comforts herself with dhikr, when no one else is there to comfort her. These unseen actions are mountains in her book of deeds. And they are far more valuable than fleeting conversations or temporary popularity. Sometimes Allah places a woman in isolation, not because she is not needed, but because He is preparing her. She is being refined. He is teaching her how to rely on Him completely, how to be content in His presence, and how to become emotionally and spiritually resilient. Through her solitude, she is developing strength that will later serve a greater mission. Perhaps as a mother, a teacher, a mentor, a leader, or simply as a righteous servant whose dua moves mountains. Allah is not wasting her time. He is investing in her soul. One powerful example is Khadija, the beloved wife of the Prophet ﷺ. Before Islam was revealed, she was a woman of deep character, known for her loyalty, wisdom, and independence. She wasn't surrounded by a massive group of women vying for attention, but she impacted the course of Islamic history, not because of her popularity, but because of her unwavering support for the Prophet ﷺ and her sincere faith. A woman's role in Islam is not to be everywhere. It is to be truthful, purposeful, and pure in where she is. Even when no one sees her efforts, Allah is Al-Basir, the all-seeing. He sees the nights she spends crying, the days she fills with patience, and the moments when she feels like giving up but keeps going for His sake. That is power, that is courage, that is purpose, and that is rewarded more than anything the world could ever give. A woman must also realize that her presence alone can be an inspiration. A woman who dresses modestly despite the pressure to conform inspires others silently. A woman who remains kind even when ignored teaches a lesson in akhlaq. A woman who holds on to her prayers even in depression shows strength. Without saying a word, without needing a crowd, she becomes a walking reminder of faith and dignity. She may not realize how much light she carries because she has grown used to her own glow. Furthermore, Islam teaches us the importance of intention. The Prophet ﷺ said, actions are judged by intentions. Sahih al-Bukhari. If a woman intends goodness, even if she doesn't have the opportunity to act on it due to her solitude, Allah rewards her fully. If she intends to benefit others, to love sincerely, to give support if only someone asked, then she is already rewarded because her heart is sincere. She doesn't need a platform to be seen by people. She already has the best platform, her place with Allah. She must not let loneliness deceive her into thinking she is irrelevant. She is a servant of the Most High. Her Creator watches over her, listens to her, and counts her every sincere deed. Her kindness is seen, her patience is noted, and her quiet strength is recorded. In a world full of noise, she is a quiet melody of faith, soothing, strong, and guided by Allah. So let her rise in her own way. Let her pray in the quiet hours of the night. Let her write her thoughts, serve her parents, care for the elderly, or make dua for those who don't even know she exists. Let her keep living with purpose, knowing that the world may not recognize her, but the heavens do. When the day of judgment comes, it won't matter how many friends she had, how many people texted her back, or how many likes she got. What will matter is her sincerity, her sabr, and her faith. And the woman who lived for Allah, even if she lived quietly and alone, will be raised among the honored. She will stand on that day, not as a woman who was forgotten, but as a woman whose solitude was sacred, whose heart was sincere, and whose presence, though unnoticed by people, was beloved by her Creator. That is the highest form of relevance. That is the ultimate success.